Hello Canadians, my name is Joseph Aubert.
I'm Theo Watkins.
We're first year economics students at Bishop's University, and today we're going to try to convince the Canadian government to legalize all drugs from cannabis to crack. And before we do that, why don't we go ask other Bishop students what they think about it.
Alright, let's go.
Alright, so we're here with Alex, and so today we're going to talk to you about legalizing all drugs from cannabis to crack. So how do you feel about that?
Absolutely not. Because if you think about it, we live in a society that people have, they have personality that is very addictive. So if they find that crack, cocaine, marijuana, everything has been legalized, it's going to destroy society, and I think it should be banned.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you for your opinion. Have a good day, sir.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Okay, so we're back with
Paul. I'm Samuel.
I'm Jackson.
Nice to meet you guys. We're filming a short video on legalizing drugs, and I want to know how you guys feel about it.
Personally, I'm all right with legalizing drugs. I think if you're a responsible adult and you think you can handle something like marijuana, I think it should be your right to, go and enjoy it. Right? As long as you're not abusing it, I don't see a problem with it.
My opinion would be against it, because I used to live in France for a long time, and I saw my friends get addicted to marijuana. It's a very bad drug to smoke.
For me personally, I don't know. I have to do more research about it.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you. Take care.
So most people, their perception of addiction is wrong. I'm here to show how. So most people, they think addiction is based off the chemical compounds in drugs that hook you. But it's really not the chemicals that hook you, rather than the aspects of your life and your need for happiness that hooks you. So in like an average life, you'll have your friends, your family, your employment, your job life, like job friends, you'll have your social life with your at-home friends. And then, of course, everybody in their life is going to have drugs or alcohol or both involved with them, right? But see, this isn't a balance here. So drugs and alcohol are not going to take advantage over anything else, and they're going to stay just relatively small and kind of outside of your everyday life. It's still there. Like, what would happen if you were to take all of this away? So now, the only thing present in your life that will give you any sort of happiness is drugs and alcohol. So now this is where addiction sets in, because you're filling the void of all the stuff that is now gone with the only thing left in your life, which would be drugs and alcohol. So instead of punishing these people who've lost everything, we need to find ways to reintegrate them back into society and bring those things that are now missing back into their life to fill the void so that drugs and alcohol can't get a foothold on them.
Before we decide to legalize drugs, we have to understand what the government is doing about it right now. Right now, the government's budget only allows them to invest $2.3 billion on enforcement every year and $1.1 billion on treatment every year. What we think we should do is invest that same exact amount of money to reconnect addicts with the world, with their family, their friends, their jobs, and giving them opportunities. So giving them business opportunities and giving them a chance to actually reconnect with what makes them feel alive and give them a reason to get out of bed in the morning. So rather than investing $2.3 billion every year on enforcing drugs, on police, on courts, on corrections, we think we should give that money back to addicts to help them get good jobs and businesses opportunities.
Psychologist Bruce Alexander conducted an experiment on rats to study addiction and how addiction forms. So the first part of the study was putting rats in solitude. So he put them in small cages by themselves. He gave them two options for water, just one contaminated with cocaine and one just normal water. So by the end of the experiment, almost all the rats had overdosed, and they were all addicted to the cocaine water. But then for the second part, he put those same rats into like rat heaven. So it was like a park, basically they had places they could play, social interactions, they were all put in the same area, much larger area to move around, and they were given the same two options of water and cocaine water. But what they found at the end of the experiment is that no rats overdosed, and almost all of them were no longer addicted to the cocaine water. So this proves that that addiction can be saved by reintegration into society, and putting them into imprisonment and enforcement is not the right path, as that just leads to more
But at first, Dr. Alexander didn't know if he could relate his experiment on rats to human beings, because we're two different species and we react differently to different situations. But then at the same time, the Vietnam War was happening, and 20% of American soldiers were addicted to heroin in Vietnam, which represents about 600,000 people addicted to heroin. So the American government was worried about that. They were worried the soldiers would come back, be addicts, that rehab centers would be full, and that the criminal activity in the country would go up. So when they reconnected with that, they just came back to the country, and 95% of them never touched heroin again.
Let's take Portugal for example. So I feel like 20, 15 years ago, 1% of the population of Portugal was addicted to heroin. It was the most extreme drug problem in Europe, and the Portuguese government were having extreme problems trying to figure out what to do and how to solve the problem. So they came together and they got a board of scientists together, and they came up with the idea of legalizing all drugs from cannabis to crack, and putting all the money they used to use for enforcement towards reintegration of addicts into society and make sure they had a social life, job, steady income, so that there was other things in their life other than drugs and alcohol. So after 15 years of legalization, there was 50% reduction in injection drug use. HIV among addicts went down drastically, and overdose deaths went down drastically as well. So this proves that the study by Bruce Alexander is accurate, and that this is very much doable in today's society, and that the way that we think about drug use, addiction, and legalization in the aspect of the war on drugs is very backwards and very wrong, and we should be doing what Portugal did if we want to fix the problem.
This is why we think the Canadian government should legalize all drugs and put their money towards reintegration instead of enforcement.